we're going right off the top to talk about NFL rookie quarterbacks because they continue to make headlines, and it's looking like the debates on who the best quarterbacks are starting to narrow. So who are the best quarterbacks from the NFL preseason after week 2? There's a few that are really standing out. And I'm going to give my thoughts on all of them real quick. And by the way, I'm playing a little bit off the CBS Sports article ranking the best performances in week 2 from NFL quarterbacks. I want to give on my thoughts on whether or not how much I believe in these guys or not and what it all means. Now, a few that I want to start off the top with. CBS ranked the second best quarterback of the NFL preseason to be Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, the Texas graduate who was drafted in the 7th round, was 11 of 16 for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. 11 of 17, excuse me. For the year, he has completed 45.7% of his passes through 2 preseason games with 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I think Quinn Ewers, this is right off the top, a totally overrated stat line. Quinn Ewers has averaged 5.91 yards per attempt. He's not afraid to throw the ball under pressure. That's a great testament to Quinn Ewers. He's willing to get hit, but his willingness to get hit is why he's not going to make it long in the NFL. His willingness to get hit is a willingness to get hurt. Think Patrick Ramsey when he played for Washington back in the day. Heck, how Steve Spurrier treated all of his quarterbacks in college when he expected them to get hit, and the same he did with Patrick Ramsey in the NFL. You're going to see that with Quinn Ewers, not because of the style of play he has, but because he willingly is okay getting hit in the pocket. That's why he was hurt a lot last year. So that was a big problem. And that's why I really don't believe in him. A couple other ones. Riley Leonard with the Colts. Look, Leonard was 7 of 12 for 64 yards with two carries for 10 yards. And he also had he also had a dropped pass on one of his preseason games. But as bad as I think Anthony Richardson was, and believe me, I think Anthony Richardson was bad, and I thought he was massively overrated, and the Colts never should have drafted him. I, at the same time, can't bring myself to believe in Riley Leonard. It doesn't really, that's Daniel Jones' job. So we really shouldn't be paying attention to that one. Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback there. The same with the Seahawks, because everybody's talking about Jalen Milroe, who hasn't looked bad. Jalen Milroe, though, is a first read and run guy, and I'm just not buying him as the starter. That's going to go to Sam Darnold. It's Sam Darnold's job, so I would totally ignore him. And once you get beyond that, there's really not a lot to get to outside of the quarterbacks we're about to talk about who have the best chance of starting for their team. So we first go with Cam Ward. Cam Ward is generating a lot of hype as the number 1 draft pick by going 2 of 7 in his preseason game against the Falcons. He's only completed 46.7% of his passes for 109 yards. More importantly, with Cam Ward, and I think this is something that we got to talk about, a huge part of Cam Ward's game is the ability to run the ball, and they're not running him. And I'm sorry, we're overrating the fact that he's completing less than 50% of his passes, and he's not really being used on the ground. Now, look, you want to protect him. He's your asset. Protect the asset. You're not going to run him much in preseason because you don't want him to get hurt running in a meaningless preseason game. But this is a big part of Cam Ward's game, and this is what I have to contest with on why I, as a huge Titans fan, as I've been open about for a while, who has always been against Titans quarterbacks, my problem with Cam Ward is he is going to a system that does not fit his style of play. Now, I get it. I'm going to hear from a lot of people now that Cam Ward didn't rush for a lot of yards in college. He rushed for enough. He had 8 rushing touchdowns at Washington State in 2023. He had 4 at Miami in 2024 and over 200 rushing yards that year. And what Cam Ward does is he runs around in the pocket to keep plays alive. That's his strength. And he's still a pass-first guy. Yes, he runs around in the pocket to keep plays alive as a pass-first guy. The problem with Cam Ward is that he's playing in a system under Brian Callahan who won't allow him to do that. Brian Callahan is going to force a pure drop back, step back, and throw offense on Cam Ward, and it's not going to work. Now, a lot of people are telling me it is going to work because there's one throw he made over the weekend that looks like it's a throw from an NFL quarterback. Look at this. He's getting a lot of credit for this throw where he led his receiver, and he deserves a lot of credit for it because it proves he can throw in the pocket and lead his receiver the right way. See, and it's a dropped pass, so it didn't count towards his stat line. Here's the problem. Cam Ward, look at this protection he had when he made that throw. I can count again on how long he had. Look, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 seconds to get rid of the ball right there, guys. He had 5. There's no way you can look at Cam Ward having had 5 seconds to get rid of the ball and say, oh, he could make a great throw from the pocket because of that. That's not going to be how he makes the throws in the NFL. That's not going to be in the regular season, the type of throws he's going to make. He's going to be under pressure. He's going to have to get rid of it in 2.5 to 3 seconds. And when he gets rid of it in those places, he's got to be able to run around in the pocket. Brian Callahan's not going to let him do that. That's why Cam Ward's not going to work. So the hype behind Cam Ward is still very overrated. I don't believe in it. That brings us to the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel remains the debate right now. And quite honestly, I think Shedeur Sanders is winning that debate. Now, this comes after Dillon Gabriel seemed to take a shot at Shedeur Sanders. Excuse me. I'm going to share this with you, what Dillon Gabriel said about Shedeur Sanders. It's pretty damning, honestly, when you really watch it. So here's a look at what Dillon Gabriel recently said about quarterbacks, and let you judge who he was referring to here.
It's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid-game, but you know, it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best team that I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best work. That's all.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? There's entertainers and there's competitors. Now, reporters who were on the sideline are saying he's referring to hot take guys, hot take analyst. But that was a real fishy line, wasn't it? Was he taking a shot at Shedeur Sanders? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he explained it later to say he was talking about like hot takey guys and not necessarily actual quarterbacks on the field. That's not what he was leaning towards, and I don't see any sign to show that he wasn't. However, Dillon Gabriel was ranked third by CBS for among preseason performers because he completed 72.2% of his passes for 143 yards, did throw an interception. But at the same time, he was very quick getting through his progressions and able to throw downfield, was able to make quick reads, was solid. At the same time, though, Shedeur Sanders, what he did in early August can't be ignored. He was still lighting people up. And Shedeur Sanders did throw 2 touchdowns to no interceptions in their first year. And look, to this point, I think by many estimates, Shedeur Sanders has been better than Dillon Gabriel. And I actually do think Shedeur Sanders is better than Dillon Gabriel. So will Shedeur start at the beginning of the season? I don't know. But I think long-term, Shedeur Sanders wins that starting job. And I think a big reason he wins that starting job is because of the fact that I think, look, the Browns were 3-14 last year. They spent a lot more capital on Dillon Gabriel, but Shedeur Sanders does. Guys, if you watch Shedeur Sanders, he's very fluid in the pocket. He's a very good quarterback. You can hate the interviews. You can hate his arrogance. You can hate a lot of things that he shouldn't have about himself, given where he landed in the draft and given his draft profile. That doesn't mean he doesn't have a great feel for playing quarterback. He has great pocket presence. He's very good. I think he's going to be a very, very, very good quarterback at some point. Now, will that happen immediately? Maybe not. They drafted Dillon Gabriel higher, so they may have to go with him. But I still think Shedeur will end up being the better quarterback. Shedeur Sanders versus Cam Ward. There is no doubt in my mind that Shedeur Sanders will be the better quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, playing with the Browns, is playing under a head coach and Kevin Stefanski, who basically is always willing to tailor his game to a quarterback's needs, while at the same time being a pocket passing head coach quarterback. And I'm sorry, let me say that again. While being at the same time being a head coach who coaches quarterbacks to be pocket passers. Having a more malleable coach already favors Sanders. But at the same time, Shedeur Sanders is just a better pocket passer than Cam Ward. Cam Ward is stuck in a system that's going to force him to be even more rigid of a pocket passer under Brian Callahan. And he's not a pure pocket passer. He's got to be able to roll out to make plays. So at some point, when Shedeur Sanders wins the starting job in Cleveland, he is going to prove himself to be better than Cam Ward. Shedeur is so much more of a pocket passer. He may need a year or two to fully get involved and embedded into the system and be as elite as he can be, because pocket passers take longer to be elite quarterbacks than dual threat quarterbacks. But eventually, given the right coaching, given the fact that he has better coaching in Cleveland, given the fact that he actually is more of a true pocket passer, Shedeur Sanders will be a better quarterback than Cam Ward. There is no doubt about it. But as of right now, the best quarterback in the preseason in the NFL, that is a rookie, is no doubt Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart was 14 of 16 for 137 yards and had a touchdown. He's completing 74.3% of his passes for 291 yards, averaging over 8 yards an attempt. I've watched a lot of Jaxson Dart, watched him a lot in college. He had a lot of real potential. Jaxson Dart is your typical always make the smart decision quarterback. He's not going to have the biggest arm, so he likely would never be able to be a Hall of Fame elite quarterback, but he is the type of quarterback that can be a very good starter for a long time for the right team, and maybe even win a Super Bowl with that team if the right pieces are around him. And guess what? He's with the Giants, who won two Super Bowls with a very good starter because he had the right pieces around him and Eli Manning. Yes, Jaxson Dart could be the next Eli Manning. And hey, by the way, they both came from Ole Miss. So I think Jaxson Dart is the best quarterback as of right now in the preseason. Shedeur Sanders has proven that he has the most potential. I don't care what people are saying about the Cam Ward highlights. Cam Ward is not going to work at Tennessee under Brian Callahan. He's going to have to go somewhere else. I'm telling you guys that right now.